Hi, this is Randy Randall of No Age and host of the podcast Hyphenate with Randy Randall. I want to welcome our newest sponsor of the show, DistroKid. DistroKid helps musicians get their music on all the major streaming platforms, and artists keep 100% of their royalties. Hyphenate listeners get 30% off at distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate. Again, that's distrokid.com/VIP/HYPHENATE. Go get your music streaming everywhere now.
Like a headband, but you wrap it around the seat behind you.
What's happening? Thanks for jumping on to Hyphenate Halftime on Monday, March 4th. Check us out. How you doing, Aaron Farley?
I'm doing well. I am. Yeah, we went. I went snowboarding. So,
Nice.
or sorry, in the past, a while ago,
or in the future.
Yes, I mean in the future or in the past.
I thought
at some point.
So audience, just for fair sake, we are pre-recording this a little bit because I have a trip coming up to New Zealand, or I just came back from a trip from New Zealand and it was fantastic. Yeah. But I thought you were making up something. You're like, oh yeah, no, I'm sure by that weekend I'm probably going to be snowboarding, and
yeah.
I think I can say, yeah, it's Monday, March 4th. I just got back last week from New Zealand, and this is the first podcast since I've been back. And wow, what a crazy trip! I was on an airplane for I think 16 hours, had a layover. I probably missed a flight is what I'm guessing, and it took me an extra day and a half, and I'm having all carry-on bags, so that's good.
Yeah, I'm sure it was super comfortable. You slept amazing.
Yeah, so
I mean first class, right? Yeah.
Oh no, not at all. below that. It's so I fly from Wellington to Auckland to Vancouver, and then Vancouver to Los Angeles.
Oh,
that's
wow.
the return, and that's the same way I'm going there as well. So I think I added an extra 5 hours in there, which, at the time, right around Christmas or just before Christmas, in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, the thought of sitting on a plane for 17 hours was starting to sound really attractive. I was like, wait a second, I'm by myself, and there's no phone calls, there's no email, and there's no nothing, no other distractions in my life. Like that kind of sounds like a vacation in and of itself, just sitting on a plane. Yeah. And going in and out of airports for 17 hours. Maybe I could read a book. Maybe I'll listen to a podcast or two.
Remember your neck pillow.
Oh my God. I've never had good luck with neck pillows. Have you ever actually had a neck pillow that works? You need it in the front. You need the front neck pillow because the head always goes forward like this. You need some. I've seen they have like these crazy things that look like alien heads. Have you seen those?
Yes.
Like blow up all around your head like a cage. Yeah. And I remember talking about that on tour years ago. Like you just need a pillow that just encases your whole head and you can just like a weird like zombie necklace rubbernecker person.
Yeah. Well, because what I feel like even with the neck pillow is that even if you are able to kind of at least go a little bit side to side, you're still
the front. You're
still holding yourself from going forward all the time. And so you get that like weird neck cramp where then when you go back, you're like, oh, wait, is my neck going to go out?
My neck's
Hold
broken.
On, slow stretch, slow stretch. Yeah. But I have constantly, like I have always had thoughts when I used to fly a lot, is that like you need like a head strap.
Oh yes.
That goes like on your, like a headband, but you wrap it around the seat behind you.
Yes.
So it's like a headband that just goes all the way around.
Yep.
And then, of course, now that would really screw with the person behind you with their screen or whatever. But
fuck it.
But I mean, I'm sure it's been tried. I'm sure if we look on Amazon,
duct tape your head onto the thing.
Yeah.
Onto the.
Maybe you should go on, or you should have in the past gone on Amazon and just try out the top 5 like head. Like
I think I'm just gonna take my belt off and just put my belt around my head. Idea.
Yeah,
and then maybe around my neck in between, just to, just sort of see how that feels too.
I mean, you just need some
myself into a airplane.
Yeah, something with some like when you used to have to like wrap your ankle with like an ace bandage, and you have those little clips, like the little metal clip that just like that has the 2 little things. Maybe you get like an ace bandage, and then you get those things and you just put those little metal
into the seat
like,
hooks.
yeah, what are those? Yeah, it's like metal hooks, like right into the side of the seat.
Yeah.
Keep your head from. I think we got something here,
There,
Randy.
I
I
think
don't
we're
know.
on to it now. We
Yeah,
figured this whole thing out. And it can also
we
be
should
used. You
start a
could also
business.
sell it like at a sex shop too. I'm sure somehow there's
Yeah,
some kind of fetish that this
you
falls
know,
into as
whatever
well.
you do with our neck immobilizer is up to you.
Yeah, it was intended for plain
Yes.
travel purposes.
Listen, the only thing I ever thought of it was flying. That's it. Let's just keep it.
Just keep
We
it
keep it PG,
keep it on the
guys.
plane. Whatever happens on the plane stays on
Yeah,
the plane.
yeah. Snakes on a plane.
That's it.
Whatever happens on the plane, snakes on a plane.
Oh my god. So Hisham Bharoocha, how rad
Oh
is
man,
he?
that was
Isn't that
amazing.
fun?
Well, it's funny because I follow Soft Circle.
Oh, of course, because you're on
Didn't
Instagram in 2010.
well,
You
or
must.
something. Yeah, of course. But I also see other people post of like he comes up and posts a lot, but I just only knew him as the Soft Circle tag or
Oh yeah,
whatever. I mean, like
handle.
the Instagram
Yeah.
account. And so I've seen all of the collages and all that. I'm like, oh my god! And I never thought to look like, oh, who is this? I knew,
Where did he go to
And so
art
then,
school? Yeah.
so
What
then,
bands was he
yeah,
in?
that's
Questions we
weird,
should ask for every Instagram
strange,
artist. Yeah.
yeah. But then, so when I looked, I'm like, oh, I got to look up his Instagram. And so then I was listening to the interview, and I looked up the Instagram, and that came up, and went, oh, of course it did. That's amazing.
Well,
Yeah, of
that
course
was
I'm already a fan, and I didn't even know it.
that was a really funny one. I know when I was setting up the interview, I was telling my wife I was going to interview him. She's like, "Oh yeah, how's his wife? How's his kid?" And I was like, "How do you know?" She's like, I think it was the early days of Instagram. I just started following them, and he was suggested, and then I became friends with his wife, and we just follow each other for years. I was like, wow, that was like the Instagram 1.0 kind of thing. And that it was always Hisham and Ed from Grizzly Bear. I feel like they were the two, at
Yeah,
least within my social circle. They were just
yeah,
constantly being like, "Are you friends with
pushed.
Ed?" Yeah, discovery page like you should be friends with Ed. I'm like, okay, like I've
Yeah,
met Ed, I've talked to Ed. Seems like a nice enough guy, but why does Instagram think we should be friends? And then
like this will make Instagram look really cool if these people are in the Instagram top 10 in the early days. I did like that part of the discussion when he was talking about Instagram because I do remember. I mean, it's cool that he started as a photographer as well.
mhm.
Um, like I feel like I kind of got into photography in the same naive way of like I didn't really know anything about art, like photography as art or any kind of like fine art. I knew it from skateboarding and snowboarding magazines and music, and I kind of just started by shooting shooting photos of my friends' bands.
Just by shooting your friends.
Yeah, shooting photos of my friends' bands and skateboard, like kids that I met skateboarding, actually in college, and that was even the reason that I moved to LA was because I took a photo class and I had a camera with like a really long, like 100 millimeter lens, which is a horrible lens to try to learn to shoot skateboarding in the 90s because everything
It's the
was like
opposite. You need
fisheye.
the wide lens,
Yeah.
completely opposite.
Like a 24
Yeah.
millimeter lens would be like a zoom lens basically in the 90s, you know? And so it's like, and so I did this like 110 or 105 millimeter lens. And that's where I met Travis Keller,
Oh my
who
god.
grew up in Idaho, and him and his buddy Louis ended up like being a pro snowboarder for K2 years later, and those dudes would just roll through and ended up like shooting some photos of them and all those other kids and meeting them, and then that's how I kept in touch, and then ended up like 4 years later in LA, like shooting bands and stuff.
As well.
But
Did all your photos look like close ups? Were you getting like extra close ups on things?
kind of,
You were the guy
I
that
mean,
known for shooting the binding. Like, dude, he doesn't just get the whole trick. He gets like right in there. You're like really in. I feel like you're in
way
the
down.
spot. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is funny because back then that I was also kind of too dumb to know the difference too. I was like, man, why don't my photos look like the ones in the magazines? Really? And I'm like, oh yeah, well, I have the wrong equipment. It's like it's not. I can't get that photo. I don't have that lens, and and then now when I look back at them, though, I'm like, ooh, these are nice. They look kind of like fancy. It's like really
Something
shallow
different.
depth of field, and they're shot from far away, so you get this like a lot of background in there and stuff. Yeah, it's kind of funny.
It's cool. It's
But
styling.
anyway, I liked that part of the interview when he was talking about photography, and then also just talking about like, yeah, I thought I would get out of school and take photos of all my friends. It turns out super expensive. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Even back then, when a roll of film was only like $3, but it's still like by the time you shot a roll of film and got it processed at a place that was worth getting it processed at and getting a contact sheet, like each roll of film was like $10 or $15,
Oh my God.
and that's
That
like
sounds cheap now, though,
90s
right? Yeah.
90s/$2,000. Well, now a roll of film is $10, I think. I haven't shot a roll of film in a long time,
To get
but
it
a roll of
processed and
film,
everything.
yeah. I mean, you shoot like 7 rolls of film for the same price as like a hard drive that will last you for like 2 years. You know,
It's just a whole
I,
other ball of
yeah.
wax.
And then the
It's a
camera
different craft.
equipment is pretty much, I don't know. Camera equipment is lenses are the same price as they used to be.
That's good, at least.
But
Oh, it's funny when you were saying about like shooting your friends. I was texting with Shane. She let me out of a kids party yesterday. I had them for the morning and ran them around, so that bought me the afternoon free of having to go to the kids party, some other
yep.
kids party. It's constant. We're still in that age group of where
Yeah.
every
You
weekend
mean you
is
didn't
someone's
get
kid.
to go to the kids'
Yes,
party, right?
I was
Yeah.
allowed to not get to go.
Shoot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but she texted me. She's like, "Oh well, the moms, she's kind of giving me updates throughout the party." I was asked, checking out how everybody doing. The kids crazy, and they hurt themselves yet? And she said, "No, everybody's good." But she said that the mom was taking shots, and then I was like, my first thought was, "Oh, that means the mom's shooting photos." But I
Yeah.
was like, that's a weird way to say it. But I was like, okay,
Yeah.
it's been a thing. You always take photos at kids' parties.
Yeah.
But then I thought about it again. I was like, oh no, I think she's saying the
Like
mom's
literally taking shots.
shooting liquor. I think she
Yeah.
had walking around with a bottle of tequila, passing it around
Yeah.
to the other mom friends. Like, hey. So it was a lively party, I think,
Yeah. I mean, you want to have the same amount of energy as the kids, you
or
know?
at least
You got
try
to keep
to
up with
have
them
the same
somehow.
amount of fun. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
just start going into the bounce house and raging out.
Yeah. This is how you meet all those new parents that
Yeah,
you have not very much in common with.
yeah. You carry around a bottle of tequila and see who
Yep.
your new social group is.
Yeah. Works every
It's
time.
a good icebreaker.
It's funny as the kids get older that doesn't work as well anymore. You just start looking like
The
you
alcoholic
just start
family.
looking like the alcoholic in the room. Yeah. Like what? You always drink at noon?
Well, it's a
What do you
birth.
mean? You guys don't? Oh yeah,
It's our
no,
it's our
never.
kid's 16th birthday party. That's not reason
Yeah, yeah,
to be pouring shots for everybody
yeah.
at 11 a.m.
Oh,
while
yeah.
we're waiting
Only
for
at kids'
pizza,
birthdays.
cold
Yeah,
pizza and shots.
yeah, right. So the kids are looking at you like, God, come on,
Uh,
jeez,
Dad,
what is
get it
happening over
together.
there? Yeah, can you please
Uh,
chill out? This is a
what
party.
what age did the birthday party stop for the kids? I'm trying to remember for myself. What I feel like somewhere around 12. I'm thinking was probably my last
Like
proper
birthday,
birthday
like
party.
birthday parties that like.
With like the
I
cake
mean,
and you sing the thing and the kid and they bring the presents and you have more than two friends over to the house.
there's kind of multiple stages. I feel like the big
Uh,
birthday parties where all of the kids and the parents stay goes till about what the kids are like nine, eight,
yeah.
nine, eight, maybe nine, and
Okay.
then all of a sudden they're like, "Yeah, feel free to drop off the kids," and then you go,
Ooh.
"Oh wait, are we at dropping the kids off at other people's houses age?" That goes for a couple of years, and then you get the ones where it's like the friend chooses like 3 people and they go to like a trampoline park or something,
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's where we're
and
about
then
to
you just
rotate
never
into.
see your kids for years. Not really. Even
So and
even
so's birthday
our
party. There's some birthday party going on. Like, all right, they'll be home later.
yeah. Then you get to the point where you like wave outside from the car at the other parent who's waving from the
From the house.
door,
Like,
and you're like, oh, they look nice. Like they look nice
yeah.
enough.
Yep.
They're nice enough to wave. That's
Oh,
a
yeah.
good sign.
Yeah. That's good. The
Yeah.
dog doesn't look too vicious. It's fine.
No.
And
Yeah.
I read those articles where it's like things to ask other parents before your kids go over to their house. Like, is there a gun in the house? Is there this?
Yeah.
Is there that? And I'm like, that sounds right. Those all sound like correct things to do. But I also read things that tell me I should run, 2 miles every morning and eat fruit and stuff. And I'm like, okay, there's the right things and the things I'm going to do. And
You're like, fake news. It's all fake news.
No, I mean, it's all good. It's all good until something happens, right? And then you're like,
totally.
all of those things were written for a reason, like horribly sad reasons that I don't want to think about. So it's like, they seem like a nice family. I'm not going to ask any of those questions.
Yeah, it seems like you can get a pretty good sense of the kids. I mean, our kids kind of seem to tell us most things.
Yeah,
like we have a pretty open relationship, so it seems like we can get a sense. Or our kids get a sense when things are a little weird. But
they'll know.
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
What are you gonna do?
We had one kid bring a bullet to school. So I think we're not going to their parties. I think that sort of put a kibosh on.
Was it on a cool necklace?
No, I don't know what the whole story was. I think the school treated it well, but it was also it was also pretty low key. And you kind of, I guess in the bigger scheme of things, a solitary bullet without a weapon, not the most dangerous thing, but it belies more things. But I think
it definitely checks a lot of boxes.
Yeah, but the school acted appropriately and definitely, I think, came down pretty hard on it and treated it like something very serious. And so seemed okay. But now I see the kid and see his parents and like, all right.
Like,
we're not going over there. Yeah.
I think even just being at the school, you see like the things that kids decide that they think is a good idea to bring to school sometimes is like not
what?
Great.
What do you mean?
Not good decisions. Well, I mean, we had one lockdown up here because a kid brought a homemade, like he had built like a bomb, kind of.
No.
I mean, it ended up not being active, but he was like showing it to kids and like trying to sell it to one of the kids before Christmas break.
Huh. Okay.
And luckily that kid went and told the office, and then there was a whole like lockdown and stuff, but it wasn't a big deal. It was
a clock
again,
with some flares taped to it.
That would be amazing if it was like a big, like a Flavor Flav clock.
or a giant, like a bowling ball with like a piece of rope sticking out the top of it.
Yeah. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was enough to have to call the police to come in and stuff. And it ended up not being anything that was dangerous. But then, but again, like the school took it completely serious, did the whole thing. Then afterwards, but when you hear the story, you're like, wow, when these kids really don't listen to a lot of the rules, huh? Like the major ones.
I mean, that goes beyond. Yeah, I think that's in
like
general.
How did you think this one was gonna?
Yeah.
How'd you think this one was gonna like slip through the cracks?
Yeah, but I feel like those protocols are good in that that the school does at some point they just kick into like, okay, step A, step B, step C, like
100%.
Anything that's even resembling or has any whiff of anything, they're just okay. Now we're officially checked over into this next lane of highway. Totally. We've locked all doors. We've alerted all the authorities. Everything is now going into full mode.
That's why all those rules exist, and let's make sure that nothing happens.
There's very little gray area in that kind of stuff. Even if in the logic of it all, like, you think like, well, it's the one kid with a bullet. Like, did that really warrant all of this sort of stuff? But you go, well,
like, yep,
could be, could be.
100%.
That's enough to just go in full speed ahead.
Yeah. At a couple hours of the day for everyone to have to hang out until things are over is completely worth it.
Yeah,
and it was
exactly.
Fun.
Yeah, what's the worst? You know what I mean? Or, well, we know the worst, but I mean, what the abundance of precaution, I think, is the phrase that is very familiar, I think, to all parents.
I'll take precaution every time.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
That sounds good. Okay, so getting back to Hisham, he it's funny. I feel like I've known him for decades now, and whenever we were in New York, we'd always hang out, and then we did shows with Soft Circle as his solo project, a couple years back, and so we had toured with him as his solo project opening for No Age, and yeah, it's really fun.
That's awesome.
He was always a good hang, and always fun to have on the road, and easy to get along with. And I think we share a
Well, he
lot of the
seems,
same kind of stuff. You know.
yeah. And I was going to say, it seems like a very thoughtful, like good person to have conversation with. He's got a
Yeah,
lot of good insights and super smart guy. And I mean, it's like so cool to like grow up in Japan and then back to California and then Rhode Island and
it's a wild story, right? I
you know,
only knew kind of some of that in passing, just from tour, kind of some of the, the idea that he was in America and then he was in Japan. But yeah,
yeah,
it was fun to kind of learn more about that. But even that his dad was part Burmese and Indian. I thought that was
yeah,
interesting. I was trying to figure out, like, as we were talking, growing up, our neighbors next door were from Myanmar, which I think is what Burma became. I apologize if I'm insensitive to the history of that particular country, but I just knew our neighbors were, they said they were from Myanmar. And then there was another girl that was like one class above that was, I think, was the cousins of our neighbor's family. So there was a couple
okay,
families, at least in our area. And they were so cool and so nice. And it was like,
yeah,
kind of, I wanted to talk about it and bring it up more, but I was also like trying to be sensitive to even just like, oh, that's cool. I know a guy.
yeah.
Do you know so and so? I was like, I don't think
How big
you.
is that country? There's
Yeah.
probably not that many people there, right? I know one family. I bet you
Yeah.
know them.
Your dad that died when he was 10. Did he know my
Yeah,
neighbor? Do you know my neighbor? I'm a
yeah.
white guy that I've met people from other countries. Can I talk about them now to you? Are you interested in hearing my opinion about foreign countries that I don't know very much about?
Well, I think it's interesting too when he was talking about going to Japan, and because his mom was Japanese, but so he's half Japanese, and that when that he didn't feel really comfortable there. And I've heard that about Japan, like I have friends who are Korean who grew up in Japan,
Mm,
and that there is a very like strict delineation of like what jobs, like how high you can get up in certain industries, and
yeah.
it's pretty strict. And so to come from that and then to come to the US, and I think I was watching another video on him. I kind of went down a little rabbit hole, and he was like, yeah, and then I came here and I was like, oh, I'm an immigrant. It
Well,
was kind of, and it's one of those things that I think we take for granted as white Americans, that it's weird to it's much more weird to feel like you always belong. I think in the context of how everybody else feels, it's actually less. I don't want to say it's more weird. I want to say it's like more people feel like they're in a place where they don't belong.
mm,
I think, and that they have to like figure it out or whatever. And I remember, yeah, someone else telling me years ago that they grew up somewhere else, and in another country, and then when they moved to the US, they were like, wait, what do you mean I don't have all the rights? And wait, what's going on? What do you mean? Like, I'm not like, why are you treating me like a second class? No, I'm from a country where everyone looks like me. What are you talking about? And it was like a huge, like they were from an Asian country and they came here and were like, what do you mean no,
yeah.
I'm not a minor.
I
What
reject
do you
all
mean
of this. Yeah.
That's what it was.
I'm
They
a
were
very
like,
interesting, normal
what
person.
do you mean
Yeah.
I'm a minority? I'm not a minority. I'm
I'm
like
me.
from China and I'm Chinese, but I just came here and I'm a person. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to
And there's
hear
more of us
those.
than there are more of you anyway, globally.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting to hear those stories of people that it's like an instant, like, oh, wow. Okay. Wait, I got to figure this place out. This place is kind of weird. This place, like, how do I fit in? Where do I fit in? And I like wrote down a note of like, that's what his collages kind of feel like, right?
Mm,
Like if they kind of feel like they're taken from all these places and all the colors are crazy and a lot of patterns and not very simple, like very complicated. But then like a lot of the lines and the way they're put together are really like smooth and soft. And there's like very distinct patterns that come out in the collages, and I thought that it fit really well with kind of how he kept talking about like where he felt he fit in and where he felt like he didn't fit in, and like he wore a boredom shirt at RISD, and that's when like Brian and those guys were like, "Whoa, boredoms! Wait, you got to come see this band. Come on, you're coming with us tonight."
You're part of
And
the
that was
crew.
like an instant. He was like, "Oh, I found my people. This
Yeah.
is like we're in."
Well, it's so
And those
funny.
are still now his like, you
Yeah.
know,
Well, like hearing that,
like probably from that night
yeah,
is like that's where it started.
life changed, one different direction. Well, hearing like Brian's story too, where he was saying, with when he moved in with Matt Brinkman, that there was so much that Brinkman had like a Japanese noise tape collection or Japanese
Yeah,
music collection, and then to
right.
see then fast forward a few years, and then Hisham just walks in like, "Hey, dudes, what's up, bro?"
Yeah.
Like,
He's like,
wait,
"Oh, and I
I,
actually
I,
saw all those bands
like,
live
I
in
was like,
Japan."
you're our guy. You're the guy. This is all the stuff
Yeah,
we're trying to do. This is our spin on this thing, and you have firsthand knowledge of this thing. Like, you're in. Let's go.
so cool.
But yeah, getting back, yeah, just the idea of it's a funny one, or I don't even know if that's the right way to say it, but just talking about race in general. Like I acknowledge obviously my white suburban Californian upbringing, but I had this thing, I guess, growing up, and I don't know if you relate to this as well, but I had this feeling of like the best way to not be racist as a kid, I felt, was always to just not acknowledge it or to kind of ignore it. And I think,
Hmm.
now as a mature adult, or or even the culture around, you know sensitivity to diversity has evolved past that. But I think I just had that first sort of thing of like, oh, if we don't talk about it, then there's no race, then there's no like
Yeah.
problems, like we're all just friends. 'Cause I think the area I grew up in, there were a lot of first generation Chinese immigrants, and as well as like multi-generational Hispanic Americans and Filipino, and we had it was a pretty mixed area in my little Southern California suburb. But my whole feeling was just like, yeah, but we're all the same. If we like skateboarding, you like music or whatever it is we're into, then it's all just we're just friends, And if we're not into the same thing, then I don't know. We're just not. I never. I tried, at least at the time, to just kind of have that open mind of like, I don't know. Not that I don't see race, but I see it. But it's also like, well, it's only as far as what it relates to us. Like, are we cool? Do you like? Can we talk about music or art or anything? I try to let the content or the sort of the cultural sort of stuff, like if we had common ground, sort of let
Hmm.
that lead rather than thinking about it. But I can see now that that's obviously a very privileged sort of systematic place where I can ignore race because I'm white and I don't have to
Yeah.
think about it, you know. But
Yeah.
but I feel like
Because
that.
you get to ignore it. Like
Yes, yeah,
I
it's
choose
the privilege
I
I have.
choose not to see I choose not to see people's color. I'm like,
Right? Yeah.
yeah, okay. But I mean, as a kid, I think like I mean, I deal with it a bit at school of like how much to say to kids when they're like having legitimate conversations and kind of joking with each other about their where they're from, where their parents are from, or black, Hispanic, white, Jewish, and they're like kind of joking with each other. It's like the eighth graders mostly. The seventh graders I don't really hear it from, but there's like, and they're kind of joking back and forth, and I'm like, huh, I think this is good. I'm pretty sure. It doesn't seem like negative, even though sometimes I'm like, it's like on the line. But I'm like, but it does make me sit and go like as an adult and watching kids. I'm like, I think that this seems like communication about differences more than it seems like definitely nobody is being like singled out one way or another. It's kind of like whatever banter back and forth, and it's like 2 minutes and then it goes away. But I do see, I mean, because where I grew up, it was like Spokane, Washington. So mostly it's like middle class white. Um, and so again, it was one of those little places where you go like, we just don't talk about it. We don't talk about anything. It's great. Let's choose to pretend it doesn't exist. And then, when I got to be in high school or I mean, I guess the end of high school and then mostly college going like, oh no, that's actually these are issues that have to be talked about. And here's, it's good. I don't know. Talk about it. Don't talk about it. feel guilty about it because you made the wrong decision, and that's also okay. And as long as you're like trying your best, everybody's
Yeah.
trying their best, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully.
No, I think so too. It's definitely it was one of those things. Even as I was having the discussion with Hisham, I was like, I know you so well. Like, why are we even talking about this? Or like I just felt, but I felt like there was a sense of like being on the microphone or like having some kind of like something recorded. I was like, oh, don't fuck up. Don't be an asshole. I think that's my. I think I have
But it's
that.
okay.
I have that thought for at least the first 5 minutes of every interview for whatever reason it is, and
But it's also
normally
okay to
goes
like
away.
screw up and say the wrong thing, as long as you're willing to acknowledge someone going,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
here's why I think that might be wrong, and you can. I mean, I think that these discussions. I think the cool thing about podcasts is that these discussions, like it's a long range discussion, that I don't know, not long range, like long form.
Yeah.
It's a long
Long
range
distance.
discussion,
It's a long
long
distance.
distance
Yeah.
discussions. So you're not in front of each other. No, it's like the long form discussion that you can actually get into those things and hear someone go like, yeah, I feel really uncomfortable as a kid, and here's why, and music helped me get out of it, or art, or like, or music actually brought a lot of us together who are from all these different places, but we liked these like very specific type of music that not a lot of people like, and that like is the umbrella over everything. And then like those kind of like cultural art and music and those things really do bring different groups of people together, and then you do end up meeting people that you probably wouldn't have living in the. I mean, there's so many people that I would have never met if I would have stayed in Spokane and middle class and whatever, instead of going on tour and even moving to LA and going to punk shows and going to warehouse shows, and you're meeting kids that like grew up in Inglewood and Compton and East LA, also Beverly Hills and the Valley and Studio City and like and Pasadena and Altadena and like all these people, and there's like 30 of you in a room with your like earplugs in watching some brutal band
Oh
like
my
going
gosh.
crazy.
Yeah.
And then you look around and they're like, oh, for these like little moments, it doesn't matter where we're from, we're like
Yeah.
all in this like crazy energy together. And then you end up, that's how, like, these are those moments that you actually do meet all of those different people, and then you get to talk about all this stuff, and you also get to say dumb stuff that you learned when you were a kid, or that you're like, well, this is just how I feel, and you're like, yeah, maybe how you feel isn't the greatest all the time. Like, think about how
So,
this person feels and this person, and you go, oh wow, I just never, no one ever told me that. Or like, I thought I was so smart, turns out nope.
there's a chance to evolve some
Yeah,
long held beliefs or long held thoughts. Either I think that's where that's where I definitely feel sensitive in the sense of like I want to figure out the stuff that I don't know. You know what I mean? Where I find myself like just in slightly too deep and go, this is a chance for me to learn here. I don't know. I don't know
yeah,
if I don't have all the answers, so I can definitely ask more questions. And I feel like
yeah,
that's usually my default position of like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if
yeah.
I get it all. So I need to ask questions and just figure out
You
like,
never will.
no. And yeah, I'm very happy to not know how to act, but I just think, yeah, having that open mind and just being able to go like, what's correct? I don't know.
Well, and I think
Yeah.
that's why, yeah, these, I think that's why these interviews have been great, especially focusing on this one scene and then seeing how different even just all these four guys, so four, or no,
Yeah.
it will have been five by this point. These five, like how different, like where they came from, what their art is like, what their music was like when they were kids, what their families were like, and everything, and how all of those differences actually brought them together to this like crazy design school, art school that like somehow between the mid 90s and early 2000s pumped out this amazing scene.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild.
Yeah,
I was gonna
awesome.
say when you're talking about brutal noise, you sent me that one video of was it Sao Paulo?
Oh, I
in
think so.
Brazil of like this like
Oh my god.
wall of amps. It's funny because you can't, the audio isn't loud on your phone. It just sounds like some kind of thing. But then as it got turned up loud, you could see this kind of the sound waves, just like
Yeah.
or moving people's hair or whatever it was, like just literally like felt like it was like bending people's bodies in contortions, and they stuck their fingers in their ears and started running away.
Yeah. The first moment, like the first bass drop or whatever hits, and everyone just puts their fingers in their ears, and half of them just duck like something is
like a
like
bomb was
something is
exploding.
coming over their head,
Oh.
and they just leave.
What if
Yeah,
they just like
yeah.
shit
I
their
mean,
pants?
it was like
Some kind of brown
it was
note or
like
something.
300. Yeah, exactly. It's like 300 speakers or something, like a wall of speakers.
That is wild. Yeah,
But yeah, people will get together for some crazy stuff.
I love loud music, but that felt
Yeah.
like some kind of like torture device or some kind of like
Yeah.
thing they would like play outside of I don't know, some kind of military installation to get people to leave.
Oh my god.
It's like,
Yeah. Or they're just testing. You're like, hey guys, guess what? This is actually military testing.
Yeah.
Congratulations,
Yeah.
you've been duped.
It's not quite a rave. We were actually just trying to see if
Yeah.
we could melt your brain from the inside here.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Just
Now
stand
take this
still
IQ
for a
test.
second. Yeah. Stand still for 2 seconds here. Hold on. Okay. That was wild, man. So what else you got going on? What else is happening here?
Oh man, I'm just like in school mode.
Yeah.
I basically have 2 months left, and this is my moment where I have to try really hard not to procrastinate.
Oh, good.
Get my stuff done, and then
well, hopefully you'll have had lots of time while I was in New Zealand. Hopefully you've done a lot of work.
Yes,
I've left you alone and not bothered you about recording.
Yeah. I will hopefully be done. I'll hopefully be done with the beginning of my EdTPA.
What does that stand for?
Education. I don't know.
Something.
It's
the
final. It's like the final test you have to turn in. It's not even really a test. You have to like build 5 like mini lessons that go into one lesson plan, and then you have to write all that down in a certain fashion that they need you to write it in, and then you have to record yourself teaching it. Then you have to choose 3 students.
Like a video recording or an audio recording?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've been having to do that anyway, just for the classes, but then you have to record that. Then you have to choose 3 students to go over their work and do the assessments on their work and what you could have done better and what you thought worked well. But it's all based on this kind of rubric system of information. So you just kind of have to go through and fill out all of the stuff. I feel like staying organized, it's probably fine. Being slightly unorganized, it makes my brain hurt a little bit thinking about it. But it will be fine. I got my certification to teach for CTE classes, so
that's cool.
I'm halfway there for my career technical education teacher.
Oh, right. And this is
so I could teach
an art teacher.
That would be photo, media, video, media, photo, video, media.
Cool.
Because I've been a photographer, so it's like that's like the CTE is your career, like it's career based.
You get grandfathered into something. You have life experience.
You don't have to take as many of the you have to take like half the amount of classes to actually do it. But
that's nice.
So I have that, and then I'll have my art credential, and then I'll be ready to rock.
Locked and loaded. Changing the youth
lives, man.
Of the mountain youth, one semester at a time. And what
changing
age?
The minds of the mountain.
and this is high school or this is junior high? You're focusing junior high?
I do middle school or high school. Okay. Or I mean, art's weird because you can also do like they'll have roving art teachers. As long as I'm only teaching art, like I could do grade school art and stuff.
I think that's what our music teacher is at our kid's school. He's just there once a week. He has like 5 schools he goes to 1 day a week.
Yeah. Yeah. So then in that sense, I could do any grade for art, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, the state just got a ton of art funding that starts this year. It starts next year, I think.
Cha-ching. There you go.
So, yeah, it's like billions of dollars for the state. So
somehow it still feels like it's like every kid's gonna get like one paintbrush. But if you really $1 billion
actually,
spread out over all the kids, like is there
as far as I know, it's actually a couple $100 per student that goes into art, music, and theater in every school, and it's like it's grant based, but yeah, it's per student, so it's actually seems pretty sizable. The guy that the teacher who I'm working with, he just went and went to like a conference and figured it out, and he's like, yeah, it's like a sizable amount for the arts in California. So
that's great.
I think it'll be a good thing.
That's fun.
Who knows? Hopefully we have a bunch of new kids coming into our district. The elementary schools are much more full than they were a couple of years ago. So
that's a good sign.
Bunch of young families. Yeah. I think so.
A couple of years ago, when we were first getting Ryder into it, it was 5 years ago, they were just saying, yeah, a lot of attendance was down. Or not attendance, but enrollment. Like there was just less kids in the areas where we were.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's hard to have a young family especially in the LA area.
Just the prices.
LA County. Just because it's, And even up here, I mean, it's not cheap. It's like, I feel like the prices up here are what they were like 8 or 10 years ago down there.
But it's on the same.
But then if you want to get off the mountain for anything, then you're paying like twice as much in gas.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're driving so much, like that kind of like makes up for some of the rent. The rent that you're saving goes into like $400 of gas every month.
Jesus, I know that. Ryder's class has done a couple trips to the Getty, which is like the big art museum
that's
here
awesome.
in LA, and I think there's through some arts funding, but it went from like all the kids just laughing at like the naked statues to then I think he actually had some kind of appreciation. Like he remembered more than that. I was asked like, so what did you think? What did you think of the art? And we'd taken him there when he was younger too. He didn't remember it, but it's like, oh, I don't know, Dad. A lot of naked people. I'm not so sure about this. I was like, is that all you and your your group of friends, all these little boys just tittering and laughing? He's like, yeah, pretty much. That's all it was all day long. That was it. I was like, no Van Gogh, no other appreciation. Do they have a Hockney there or something? And he's like, nope, none of that. I don't know what you're talking about, Dad. There's a lot of. I think there was some statue right when you went in of like a naked younger person. And I think that just was the first thing they saw when they got off of the tram. You know, they take the bus there for an hour. They're dicking around on the bus, and then they take this tram. Like, okay, we're at Disneyland, and they just see a giant naked child, and like, oh, okay, we lost it. We lost them.
Yeah,
the maturity level is not prepared for this.
Yeah. I mean, I went once with our friend Beth, who's a teacher at Eagle Rock, and she took the class to Mocha. I think it was Mocha, and went with them, but it was high school.
Oh boy!
And it was years ago, but it was fun.
Just
like I feel like that was a good age, like middle school and up, to really like they actually had things to say, and they were doing sketches, and it was cool.
That's cool. Yeah. So, I think the little guys are still this is just about exposure, just kind of see things can be art.
Yeah. There's things in your city that you probably don't know about. Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't take them to the Paul McCarthy exhibit at Mocha?
No.
I suppose no. The Mocha can be hit and miss, I guess, or at least the Geffen one, just depending what kind what show is there at certain times.
It can be iffy for people who do not. Yes, challenging. That's the way to say it. For people who don't know anything about art and are just walking in.
Yeah, I feel like they've tried to have some pretty big populace. I think the Broad is sort of nailing that sort of thing of the event art visit. Totally. You know, because you got to book, you got to make reservations. You take the thing, you take all the pictures.
Is it still free?
It's very Instagrammable. I don't know.
Yeah,
I went once. I wasn't.
Used to be free.
I wasn't in love with it. I just felt like there was so much like inside dirtiness, you know, with just that museum being built and everything.
You don't like that oil money, the big oil money?
I don't know. I guess if I lived on a mountain, I'd have a real bone to pick with all the oil money.
Listen here, I'll tell you about art.
Yeah. All right. Well, it sounds good. So I have no idea what's coming up this Thursday. I think we are officially done with that's the closeout. That's the end of 5 fucking
Yeah,
Thursdays in February.
yeah,
First Hyphenate's first theme month.
and it's perfect.
Yeah,
Olive just started barking,
it's
so
great.
it's
She
like
knows. She knows it's
close
time.
us out.
Yeah, we'll find
She's
out.
like,
I think we're gonna go back to our regularly scheduled, just random bullshit of whoever I can interview. I think,
yeah,
or whoever takes the time to sit down with me. I think there's some good
yeah.
ones. I do have a couple things in the hopper that I think will be fun and good. But yeah,
Or if you went to RISD, email us
yes.
and we'll get you on the list for next February.
Next February, I think RISD Part 2. This time it's personal.
Yeah,
Is good to put it on your calendar. Anybody who went to RISD in the early aughts, I want to hear from you. So yeah,
yeah.
I've actually already had a few people reach out, and I'm like, all right, we're
Have you
on.
really?
We're on.
I
Yeah,
feel like didn't Shepherd was at RISD in the mid '90s too. I think.
that sounds right. Yep.
I
Oh,
think he just went to
Bjorn
RISD.
didn't tell the story. I don't think on the pod, but I've heard it off pod or Joel and
Yeah,
Bjorn talking about it.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was Bjorn. The I think Seth. Who's the guy, the Family Guy guy? Seth.
Oh,
Uh,
Seth MacFarlane.
Seth MacFarlane, I think, was in his class.
Oh, really? Was it RISD?
Yeah,
Wow.
and this
Did he
is
just make jokes the whole time?
well, this this. I'll just say everything's allegedly, right? Because I don't know, I wasn't there, and I don't know who told me. Maybe I'll make it's a lot
Yeah,
more anonymous. So somebody supposedly,
yeah.
allegedly, somebody had said. I think he gave a speech or something because he was in the animation department and was kind of just as insufferable as a college student as he is now as an adult. And
Yeah.
very pleased with himself, very
Uh-huh.
just very very happy with him with being who he is, and
Hmm.
he was giving a speech and allegedly people kind of booed him or like threw stuff at him during his thing during his speech as he graduated.
This is while
It
he
was,
was a student,
yeah,
like while he was
yeah,
graduating.
I think
Oh,
so.
okay.
Yeah, I don't. I think there was a certain contingent of the fine arts people who just thought this guy is a giant cheese dick.
That's
And
amazing.
obviously he showed them. He has the
Yeah,
last laugh. He's the billionaire with the yacht and who knows
yeah.
how many private jets. And
He
he
did well for himself.
makes yeah. He makes all the money in the world. So
Someday, I'm gonna make cartoons.
but yeah, if Seth MacFarlane would ever like to come on here to talk
Yeah,
about his time at RISD, wowing the students with his old timey his Frank Sinatra crooning
yeah,
sessions, and he's like, I wasn't so sure with those Fort Thunder guys. They seemed a little out there. I was more into
yeah.
Sinatra myself. I would go to a small speakeasy bar and croon over a piano player with a snifter of brandy.
I went to one of those parties once. It was mayhem.
Yeah. I feel like he probably had a very different experience of RISD, or for
I'm
that
sure he
matter,
did.
and we'd open the years up to if anybody from Talking Heads wants to come on.
Yeah,
It'd be fun to talk
yeah.
David Byrne.
We gotta
Good
we gotta
RISD.
look through the archives of
Yeah,
RISD
widen our
RISD
scope.
alums.
Yeah, I know. Maybe March can be like we have to think of another art school. We could look at or
I
just
love
other schools. Like
arts.
just look at like Harvard or maybe we can look at LACC for March.
College month.
Yeah.
LACC. I love it. I mean,
Who are
yeah, I would love.
graduates? Does
You'd
anybody
probably
actually
get
ever finish LACC? It's usually people take a couple classes.
you'd probably get amazing people for like LACC and any of those places that you'd
PCC.
actually probably get some really great like Pomona City College, all that. You'd probably
Well, that
find some
Pomona
like
State's college. No,
amazing.
PCC. I was thinking it was Pasadena
Oh,
Community College.
passes Pasadena Community
Yeah,
College. Yeah,
Pomona College is probably good. That's
yeah,
one of the Claremont colleges, I think.
yeah. You could do the whole Claremont
Oh my
section.
god, a Claremont scene. That'd be kind of interesting. I could go that
Yeah,
way.
that's
That's
your
that's hitting close to
scene.
home, my neck of the woods. Well, there definitely was a music scene in Claremont / Pomona in the '90s when I grew up there. Henry Barnes from Man Is the Bastard and Amps for Christ, and Henry's still out there in Claremont. He would be one of the luminaries that I'd probably go out to. And then he actually works at Ben Harper's family's folk music center in Claremont. So I imagine
Oh wow.
Ben Harper has some connection to Claremont. I don't have any connection to Ben Harper, but I'm sure.
Not yet.
So Henry, Ben Harper, and then there was like a not Crimp Shrine. What was there was like a hardcore kind of arty thing out there. That I want to say it was like the bass player for Yo La Tengo had something to do with, or Shrimper, maybe Shrimper Records was a kind of like underground record label there, and then who else could round out Claremont? I mean, there's definitely a bunch of other people. I know Dimitri from Off now lives out in Claremont. He's part of the new contemporary Claremont scene. Okay. But then, John Darnell from Mountain Goats went to Claremont College, and then also performed around in Pomona. I saw him when I was probably 14 at a small coffee shop. Loved it. Blown away.
You got this, Randy. I think you can.
Okay, I could probably pull off a Claremont.
I think you can do this. I think you can pull off a Claremont month.
But there's so much
more.
We'll
call it Claremont.
Claremont. Oh my God, this thing writes itself. They had the great college radio station KSPC, K-Space. That was very influential for me. And the Rhino Records. I think they've just maybe closed. Yeah, but they were cool. There was a whole Claremont. Maybe I could even do some in-person man on the street interviews, just walking around Claremont. It could happen.
I think that's
all right.
I think
Claremont.
back this. 100%.
Claremont is coming.
Claremont.
All right, you heard it here first. Mark your calendars. I don't know what month. We'll find what month is Claremont, but it could be coming sooner than later.
Yeah, we're throwing it out there.
All right, man. All right. Well, everybody have a good week. I will see you on Thursday. Duct tape your head onto the thing, onto the seat behind you.